Welcome to the Julie Laughton Living Podcast, the place to get advice, tips, and tricks to building the life and luxury home of your dreams with 30-year business owner, designer, and builder, Julie Laughton. It all starts with a good plan. This is Julie Laughton Living.
Welcome back to another episode of Julie Laughton Podcast. Don't forget to check out my 7 simple steps. It describes what I do from conception to completion as one person. It's pretty fascinating. No one else provides this one-stop shop. And the 7 steps is outlined, and those 7 steps turn into 7 to 11 people when you do this. So it's all in there, what needs to be done, who the players are. So check it out before you do your remodel or your ground up, because it's packed with information and it'll open your eyes to what to expect. Okay, so today we're going to talk about nightmare remodels. I wrote a book on this because there's no reason to have a nightmare remodel, everyone. There really isn't. They're all avoidable, and they all start with the same problem. What's the problem? Hiring the wrong people, and hiring incompetent people, and hiring dishonest people. The problem with nightmare remodels is always the same problem. One of them's the bad apple. The bad apple hires other bad apples. The bad apple ruins it for the good apples. So you got to look at your team. And I notice with clients and certain personality clients, just like me, I like to be told nice things. I like to be sold, but the selling part of why you might hire someone is because you might hire them because they're busy talking you up and complimenting you at the same time they're camouflaging or hiding their defects. So you have to check out their reputation. You got to talk to people that have worked with them before. You got to go see the work, because talking is no proof. So a lot of people whenever I come across people, okay, so here's the deal. 50% of my business is people that have fired their architect or their contractor because they totally fucked up their job. Okay, I told myself I wasn't going to swear. So the point is, seriously, I'm used to cleaning up the mess, but the source of the problem is somebody said, okay, I can do this, but they really couldn't. Or, okay, I got this, but they don't know how to do it. They're incompetent, or they have other personal problems affecting their performance. So every time it's somebody that lied they could do it and they can't because they just want the money. So they're salesmen. Don't hire a salesman. Hire someone that actually can do the work. Check out their reputation. Talk to the former clients. I can't tell you enough. Every nightmare remodel is preventable. And when you find out why it's a nightmare and what happened, it's always someone lying about what they can do or what they can't do, or whether they can't perform for other reasons. So I don't know. I have this thing about nightmare remodels because we don't have them in my world, because they're all preventable. Because it all starts with a good plan. That's my motto. It all starts with a good plan. It's plastered on the side of my truck. You got to have plans. The plans are the Bible. The plans are your roadmap. The plans have to be complete before you start. Don't make change orders after you start. But that's a whole systems and process part of it. But you have to have honest, experienced, truthful individuals on your team that know what they're doing. So there's my preaching about how to avoid a nightmare remodel. So part of the nightmare remodel, in every case, with a remodel, normally, if you don't have me, the one-stop shop, you have an architect or a designer. You have a decorator, because designers do what like the architect does, kind of what's screwed and glued to the walls. And then I always say the decorator, because it's the soft goods that you take with you when you leave. It's the movable items. And then you have a landscape architect, and then you have the contractor and all those players. It could be 50 people under the contractor. So one of the biggest problems is like, okay, so let's say you have this architect and he's like the quiet guy and the geeky guy, but then you bring in this interior designer or decorator, and then you get sidetracked. I mean, I'm not to make fun of people, but some clients get sidetracked on the interior design, and the finishes before the plans are done, and then nothing matches at the end, then your budget's blown because you blew it all on furniture before you found out what the budget of the project was. So that's just one of the scenarios of a nightmare remodel, is you don't focus on the big picture, and the players don't communicate, and the budget's blown by something maybe you like to do, shop. So you got to hold up and make sure everything's together and fits in the budget, is my point. So that's one of the nightmare scenarios. So the other nightmare scenario is the plans don't work and the contractor bids it wrong, and then you end up with nothing but change orders. Or the plans are perfect and you, the client, decides to make 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 changes after construction starts. I have no sympathy for you if that's what's going on. But someone isn't managing you if that's what's going on. There should be no changes after construction starts unless there's an unknown. Because if you really go through the process correctly and you draw plans and you decide on the space plan, the design, and you see the house in 3D, you like love it before it's built. And then you go through the design process and you pick all the materials, you put that on 3D, you see it in color like a picture. There should be no problem with understanding what's going to be built for you. And then it gets built, boom, and that's it. But the change orders is what screws it up after you build it with the budget. Plans not being right, which is, it triggers the contractor not bidding right, because he's like, oh my God, so I'm just going to put an allowance here. Then the client turns around and makes decisions after construction, and they pick things that are way more expensive or not available during construction, and that pushes the construction schedule back. So it's just a nightmare effect. You got to have plans that are detailed. All the materials have to be selected so the contractor can bid it accurately, and then you'll have a beautiful project. But if he bids it wrong, that means he didn't have enough information, or he fought for the bid and he bid it low, knowing he can't do it for that price. And then he's going to slam me with change orders later to make up the cost, which is going to make you mad, piss you off, and sour your relationship. So you should, if you're not sure and you don't know, like no homeowners know how this works, they're all amateurs at this. You need to get 2 or 3 bids to know why this guy is lower, because everything costs the same. Eggs, bread, milk, cheese, gas is the same as lumber, nails, and screws. There's no discount. It's all the same price. All we do is facilitate it. So if some guy's bidding cheap, he's desperate to take your money, and then he's going to charge the same price anyway, because he has to pay the same price we have to pay, the ones that bid it right. So don't take the cheapest bid, because there's no way to do it cheaper. So if it's here in the US, and especially California, it costs a lot to build here. The other nightmare with remodels is, you hire a team, and if you're the homeowner and you're hiring people handpicked and trying to assemble them, good luck. It's not going to work, because they're not going to get along, because they don't know each other. The egos will get in the way, then they're going to blame you, and then they're going to blame each other, and it's constant finger pointing, and nobody cooperates, and it becomes a whole thing. So the team needs to know each other, and the client shouldn't be handpicking strangers. The team, in my case, my team's been with me 10, 20, and 30 years. There's no newbies, I don't guess. Everybody's groomed, trained, and knows the process. They're all professionals. But if you put people together, you're putting together strangers and egos and nightmares, and they don't follow a process because you're not the expert. They are, but they all have different processes to accomplish the same thing. So I don't know. I don't know how people do it. Hiring 7-11 people, it's always a joke at the end of the day, and it rarely goes smoothly unless it's that golden team that's worked together for years. And there are those teams out there, but most of them aren't like that. Just so you know, that's part of the original nightmare, is just the fact that these people don't work together. But if you find a team, they got to know each other, they're used to, and they have their system down. Because like I said, in my case, there's 560 steps to this process. We follow it like clockwork. There's no mystery. I have a process. It's in writing. It's called SOPs, and the plans, procedure, and process. And it involves the plans, selections, and all that good stuff. But there is actually a process. And if you hire individual people and they all have a different way of doing things, good luck. But the nightmare, literally in general, without you even realizing it, comes from the team refusing to cooperate. So again, my best advice on how to avoid a nightmare remodel is hire a one-stop shop like me, or hire a place that has a one-stop shop in place. So maybe you have an architect that really trusts the contractor and the designer. There are teams out there like that. There's 3 teams I know right now that work together beautifully in Newport alone and Laguna. That's what you want. You don't want to handpick your team and put up against a bunch of strangers together. You want to hire someone like me that does it all for you, or work with people that know each other and trust each other and can say, this is going to go great because we all did this before together. We know how to work together. So that's what it's really all about, because the humans have to coordinate and the humans have to get along, because it's the people or the one guy that ruins it. So the bad apple. So you got to have the team has to come prepared and have experience working together. That's what it's really about. So thank you for joining me on another episode of Julie Laughton Podcast. If you want any more tips on how to avoid a nightmare remodel, just call me, because I got them all. I know exactly what causes every scenario and how to avoid every scenario. But if you really want to get a heads up, check out my 7 simple steps, because it's going to outline everything you have to do from A to Z and what's going to happen and who's going to be the players, who you're going to have to hire. So it's all there. Share it with your friends, print it out, and enjoy. But try to avoid a nightmare by following the steps, following the rules, and hire the right team. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Julie Laughton Living. For more information or to connect with Julie one-on-one, visit julielaughtonliving.com. And don't forget, it all starts with a good plan.